Welcome to Scale Her Up, the Female Entrepreneurs Show with me, Brenda Hector. I'm a business growth specialist helping business owners to develop themselves and grow their businesses so they can achieve their goals and enjoy the lifestyle they dream of. I'm on a mission to revolutionise the entrepreneurial landscape for women in business. In every podcast episode, I interview someone who has an inspiring story or some great advice for women aiming to start or scale their businesses. If you're new to the show, take a moment to subscribe right now so you don't miss any upcoming episodes, and please check out the previous ones. We've got an awesome Facebook community. Just search for Scale Her Up and join in. And today, welcome Lynne Reeves. Lynne's the Managing Director of Motion Software. So thank you for joining me, Lynne.
You're welcome. It's good to be here.
Start off firstly just by discussing Motion Software. What does the business do and what's your role there?
Sure. So we are a software business and we provide software to inspection companies quite heavily in oil, gas and renewables. But really, if anything needs a compliance certificate to say it's safe and fit for use, inspectors will use our software. They've got 3 areas that they can use, but the main one is the app. They'll go out, do the inspection, mark up the relevant pieces within the piece of software that will automatically load back into the main system, and the office users can share that with their customers. So if there was ever, heaven forbid, an accident or something on site, then they've got a certificate that says that the piece of kit was inspected and was certified fit for use at the point of inspection. A bit like an MOT, but for big industrial kind of kit.
So I guess it's Aberdeen-based, isn't it? So there'll be a lot of construction and oil industry.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
I would imagine there's a market for that kind of software in many industries.
Yeah, I've got a few clients within the entertainment and art area. It's literally anything that needs to have a safety certification. So though we've got, without mentioning the names, so they have been involved in the Olympics. They've been involved with Eurovision. So some of that fancy rigging and lighting and all those, they all have to be checked and all certified. So yeah, we've got a few customers in that area. And we've got some insurance companies as well. So they carry out their inspections. We have some very sort of small customers where they're going out and they're probably owning the business, but then running the business, they're doing the inspections, they're doing everything there is to do. And then we have some much, much larger customers and kind of everything in between.
Awesome. And you're the MD?
I am. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go on after you.
Oh no, on you go, because I think we touched on this before. Yeah. Tell me a bit about how you came to this role.
Clearly my accent is not an Aberdonian accent. So I used to work for a company called Gladstone Software, which is another software business in a totally different market in leisure centres is where our software was. And I worked for them it was about 8 years or so. And it was an independent company based down in Oxford. And we were purchased by Jonas Software in 2010. And then, so Jonas Software is a Canadian company. They buy, hold and develop businesses. And so Gladstone was the first UK business to be acquired. Since then, they've gone and acquired, and I lose track of how many, but Motion Software was one of those businesses that was acquired. But their whole kind of model is that they buy the business, they implement some best practices, things like that, and then let you just run as you are. So my growth really came from within Gladstone. Until we were acquired, I was a trainer. I was out on the road all the time, and it was just a job, if I'm brutally honest. It was just got paid at the end of the month, and that was it. And then once we were acquired, it opened my eyes a little bit that, there's a little bit more. There's more opportunities here because there's opportunities within other businesses within the group. So I progressed. I actually took a bit of a sideways step into project management and then became team leader, operations manager, head of operations. And then I got to a point with Gladstone where I'd been there for such a very long time that I was starting to run a little bit short of ideas, things that I could implement. And I was a bit of a blocker for other people coming up the ranks behind me. And then Motion were acquired and an opportunity came up. One of the group leaders contacted me and said, got this business, told me a little bit about them. What do you think? And I was like, yeah, sounds great. Let's go for it. Because it was my next step. And it meant, I freed up that seat within Gladstone. So I'm so pleased. I couldn't tell you, and I know it sounds like I'm waxing lyrical, but I couldn't tell you how pleased I am to have made that move, because it's enabled me to grow significantly. And I'm blowing my own trumpet, but it's allowed the company to grow as well, because I've moved into motion with some of these best practices, some of the experience that I had within Gladstone, and been able to implement those. And I'm seeing kind of changes in people within the business and the growth within the business as well. So yeah, that's my journey, my story through.
It's brilliant to hear a story of somebody that's benefited so much of working in an organization that's been acquired, because my experience wasn't as positive.
I do hear bad stories about it, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, many people have had challenging times through. To be fair, the business that I worked in that was acquired just as the oil industry plummeted through the floor in 2015. So it wasn't entirely due to the acquisition that things went wrong. But yeah, what do you think that they got it right? What were the things that
They invest in people. There's a phrase, and it sounds a bit cliche, but people are our greatest asset. And that is repeated over and over. There are a number of events. Earlier this year, I was over in Canada at an event for all business unit leaders and above. And yeah, the phrase "people are our greatest asset" is always repeated, and it's like a mantra. But they really do invest, and I'm a genuine believer of it. And I'm just one of many stories within the group of people that have been able to go on and develop. But I was part of it was called the leadership program. So there've been a number of cohorts. I was on the second cohort of this leadership program, and you have to apply for it and think of it like The Apprentice, but not quite as throat as The Apprentice. That was how some of the application process felt. And then it was whittled down, and I was very fortunate to gain a place on the leadership program, which was a 12-month, it ended up 18 months. It just kicked into COVID times. But yeah, a 12-month program of a select few, and we were all being given, it wasn't just training. There was, an awful lot of coaching, an awful lot of guidance given, not just sitting in a classroom with death by PowerPoint kind of thing. And that's something that has been really critical. My boss is he's a product of the first cohort of the leadership program. So just investing in those kind of things and celebrating and rewarding people that are willing to put themselves out there a little bit.
And I guess that people are the greatest asset. That's a brilliant alert for any size of business.
Yeah, absolutely.
As soon as you get past one or two, people are what's going to be driving your business forward.
Yeah, definitely. And the businesses will also repeat that. I've certainly, maybe I've not said it of late, but Motion we're as successful as we are, and that's not on me. That's thanks to the people within the business being willing to go the extra mile. When I say go the extra mile, I don't mean working 50-hour weeks kind of thing. It's just willing to help each other out, willing to learn, willing to listen and take on board feedback and implement that type of thing. There's people within the business that have come on, I've seen it in them come on leaps and bounds, and in time I'm going to become the blocker again within the business, and I need to move on to whatever is next to enable them to grow and flourish as well.
So how many staff do you have in that Motion?
We have, including me, we have 17 people. Most of them are based within Aberdeen. Obviously, that's where our base is. And we've got a couple of people that are a little bit hybrid. So I work remotely. I work hybrid. I go to the office probably every couple of months, and I'll stay for a week and just spend time with people, and we'll do town halls or things like that. We've got somebody in Wales. We've got somebody in Birmingham. And then we have a small offshore team as well that we use for a particular project. So they're over in Pakistan. But because we're all so hybrid, it makes face-to-face call really important. At that time, then when I do go up to the office, I try and get people to come in. We were in last week. I don't know how much work I've done because there was far too much laughing coming from down the corridor. But yeah, so we're quite a small, tight-knit kind of company, but we welcome in. We've taken on 2 new people in the last 18 months, and they have just slotted in really nicely. They're part of the crew, if you, I don't want to call us family, but the crew, the motioneers that I keep talking about it as.
So how do you make sure that when you bring somebody new on that they do fit that well? Because
Yeah.
that's a big challenge that a lot of businesses have, is finding good people that fit and keeping them.
Yeah, definitely. And we haven't always got it right. There's people that it hasn't gelled, it hasn't worked out for. But I think you just get a bit of a gut feel. Somebody once said to me, when you're interviewing, and the two people that we've had in fairly recently, it's one of those and initial, just even like not tactics, but the kind of brass tacks of doing an initial telephone interview, doing a Zoom kind of interview, but then ultimately in person, because you need to make sure that they're going to be able to communicate in all those different ways because of how hybrid we are. And yeah, I think there is that gut feel that when they're the right person, yeah, that's
I'm going to turn it round then for anybody listening. When you know they're not the right person, you know they're not, so just don't do it. Yeah.
You don't need a bum on a seat. You need the right bum on the right seat.
Yeah. Yeah. So trust your gut. I think it's probably more important to trust your gut, not to bring on someone that's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the most recent recruit, we ended up did his interview in person. I was in person with him, but we had two people actually online as well. So that if he listens back to this, he'll now know the tactics, but it was almost to see how he could manage that type of environment where you have got a bit of a mix of things. And yeah, the three of us spoke the following day after the interview, and all three of us were like, yeah, that's the one.
So it's about putting them in situations then that they're going to have to manage when they're in the role. So that was a test, although you didn't tell him it was a.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it actually failed us on the day. So we ended up with the interview on phone. And I was like, if you can manage an interview on a little phone screen and still keep being engaging and engaged, yeah, you're definitely the right man for the job.
Brilliant. But yeah, what about Lynne then? What have you learned about Lynne on your journey through to the top of Motion Software?
I like spreadsheets. I've learned that I like a lot of spreadsheets and I like a lot of data. But I think I've grown significantly. And I hope that if there's people that are listening that knew me 10 years ago and the Lynne that I was then, I was quite blinkered at that point in time. I was used to working within the professional services team. That was my team. And that was all I really cared about at that point. And I didn't see the wider picture. And through the exposure I've had with the leadership program, with the exposure I've had to the more senior leaders of the group, it's opened my eyes that it's not just professional services that counts. Actually, the R&D team is important, the sales teams. And not that I never thought that they were important. I just didn't appreciate, I suppose, all I kept thinking was, as long as PS hit that target, then we're okay. But now I get that much broader view and I try and help people to understand that as well. It's okay, if this number isn't quite where we want it to be, actually what's the impact everywhere else? And if the others are all doing, it's just one big machine and if everything's working, ultimately we all get to those targets and those goals of where we want to be. And sometimes there's a little bit of sacrifice in one area for the greater good. So I think that's probably what I've learned the most is the looking and taking the 10,000 foot view of everything that's going on rather than in the detail. And I think maybe that was something that held me back when I was at Gladstone, is that I'd been with the business for so long and I was so into the detail that it was really hard to take back and look and see what else was going on.
I think it's very common actually. As a business coach, I'm helping business owners to step back and have a really holistic approach. And you love the spreadsheets and the data. Lots of the people that I talk to don't, but actually you needed to step away from the spreadsheets and look at the bigger picture. And sometimes they need to step away from the bit that they love and look at all of it. So yeah, there's a good lesson there in you have to have a finger on all of it.
And everything. Yeah. And it is that it's spinning plates and it's knowing sometimes some of those plates will crash, and it's knowing which ones of them are okay to crash, because you can go and mop that up, and which are the ones that are going to cause you a lot more pain.
So, do you think you were always destined for leading a business?
I don't think I was, but there's potentially other people. So, and I refer back to Gladstone, that's really where I did all my growing up. I was very, I don't want to, maybe there's an element of being fortunate, but there's an element of maybe it was just me. I had a champion within the business, and she believed in me when I didn't necessarily believe in me. She would, why don't you have a look at the leadership program? Have a look at this and have a look at that. And I guess she believed in me. I just needed the convincing. And it was only really doing that program that I was just like, yeah, I can definitely do this. The last 5, 6 years, that's where I've believed in myself and knew that I could do it. And that I know that I can go on and do even more. Motion, I want to get to a really good place. I have a vivid vision of where we're going to be in 2028, and that's shared with the business, and they all know. And I think they're bought into it. I believe they are bought into it, and that's where we're going. But then it's 2028. Okay, what's next? What's after that? Is it something within motion? Is there who knows, an acquisition that the group might make that might come into kind of my remit? Or yeah, where do I want to go next? So I believe in myself now, but haven't necessarily always believed in myself.
So it's, yeah, I'm not going to say luck because it's not luck. It's where preparedness meets opportunity. But you've been in the right place to be taking on that.
And I guess that's the luck bit, is the right place at the right time, and having that person that could see whatever I couldn't see, and then starting to believe in it. And when the opportunity arises, take it, because you don't know when the next one. Many years ago, I missed out on an opportunity where the company that I was working for was setting up an office in Ireland. And did I want? And I was like, oh, that means moving over there. And no, I'm not, wasn't confident or didn't feel capable of it. But if I think back now, if I'd taken that opportunity, I don't know where that would have led. So when this kind of role came up with Motion, it was just a case of, what's the worst that can happen? The worst that can happen is I'd destroy the company. That wasn't ever going to be on the cards. So yeah, take those opportunities when they're given, even if it's a little bit outside of your comfort zone. And it's scary moving from a head of ops role where I had an MD above me. So if it all went horribly wrong, there was an MD there that would take the flak. Whereas now it's me. The buck stops with me. And so I take it. But yeah, take the opportunities, even if they're a little bit scary.
So how do you handle that responsibility then? The buck stops with you. What?
I try and I try and empower people to make decisions, and sometimes those decisions might not be the right one, but the fact that they've made a decision is better than no decision. And ultimately, if it's the wrong decision, and if it, I can't think of any specific example, but if it's something that I really think, no, this is going down the wrong track, then it's my responsibility to step in and flag that. But those, when people have made those kind of decisions, they're thought through, there's reason, we consult, we talk on them. It's not abdicating at all. It's that delegation, but without abdication, and trust in that, understand there's kind of thought process behind. And as long as it's well thought out and it's with good intent and good reason, then I will back it, and I will stick up for it. And I'm, whether I'm right or wrong, sometimes I'll get a little bit of flack from above, but I believe we're doing this for these reasons. And yeah, fixing my guns on that. And if I'm really wrong, those above me will tell me I'm really wrong and go, no, Lynne, you need to change tack here. But yeah, being confident in why you're doing things that you're doing. And I guess that's how I deal with it.
Good, good. So you mentioned that mentor that you had at Gladstone's. I usually ask, is there anyone else who's really supported you through your journey?
Yeah, actually, my current boss, I've never worked with him until he's taken on the role that he's in now. But we've always, for quite a long time, we've been in the same group. So he was an MD of one of the other businesses. So I've known him that way. And he's particularly supportive. When he took on the role that he's in now as group leader, he did a small presentation at one of our town halls to introduce himself to my guys. And his thing was, his role was to give me a hug and a kick, whichever was needed. And he's been really supportive and again has believed in me. I think we work really well together. We're quite similar. He's been through that leadership program. And yeah, he's just really sort of blown the flag for me and given me even more belief since I've been in this MD's role. He's given me even more belief. And obviously, it's more responsibility, it's more senior than the previous role. And he's pretty much hands off, unless it's all going horribly wrong. And then I know when I'm in trouble because I speak to him way more than otherwise. But yeah, that for me is quite supportive, is that trust in me and knowing that I'll just get the job done. I was going to say, actually, there are other more senior leaders as well. So I keep talking about the leadership program, but there were two very senior leaders that really ran that, and they were almost the sort of consultant. And it was really good to have that face-to-face time with them that you wouldn't normally get in a normal working day, because they could impart all of their experience, all of their learnings, all of their takeouts, all of the don't go down that road because I've tried it and I've worn the hat and it didn't pan out well. So yeah, again, they support the whole group of companies. Everybody is very supportive and believes in you if you're confident and you believe in yourself as well.
So then I'm assuming you're feeding that down.
Yeah. To my guy, absolutely. And I've seen some real changes, and I've got to be cautious because I'm not sure he's listening, but I've seen some real significant changes in some of the guys that work within Motion. Just that, believing in themselves. I'm fairly hands off, and if they need something, they know that I'm there for them and I'll support them on good direction. But I don't want to micromanage people and preach, you shall do this. So yeah, I've seen, there's probably 4 or 5 that I can think of off the top of my head that I've seen just come on leaps and bounds. I've been with Motion for 2.5 years now, and the change in them from day one to now is just, it's immense. It's significant.
Well done.
And I'm very proud of them if they are listening.
I'm sure they will be. So how has coaching, have you been coached? Have you had a coach?
Yeah. So we had an external coach who I'm still in contact with now and is actually delivering some CPD sessions for the Motion team through next year. And he was great as well. It was really, I'm trying to think of the best way to describe it. I don't want to say therapy, but there were times when it was almost like therapy because it stripped back everything to the brass roots. Where were my insecurities? And imposter syndrome is something that I massively had challenges with. So stripped it all back, laid it bare, and then helped to build it all back together. And just little nuggets of things that he would say that would spark something in my mind. And I'm like, oh yeah, that does make perfect sense. Actually, if I just adjust my approach very slightly or adjust my thinking very slightly about myself and my abilities, it makes a massive difference. And in the fact that he did that coaching, we started coaching in 2019 and what are we now, 25, and still in contact with him. Almost would class him as a friend and a pal because sometimes we'll have chats about parents and kids and those kind of things. But so I'd asked him, he did a session for us a few weeks ago about neurodiversity. Something I'm quite passionate about is sharing the awareness of neurodiversity in the workplace and what it can bring to a group of people. So he did that session for us. And then we were talking about a lot of the things that he'd worked through with me that I thought that would be really good for Team Motion. So yeah, we've put those in place for next year.
Wow, it's very impactful, isn't it?
Massively. And yeah, so he's another person that's supported me on that journey and believing, even though he was external to the group, and in some ways that was quite nice to be able to rant at him occasionally without the fear of, oh, I've got to be careful what I'm saying here.
Yeah, able to vent and
Yeah.
Somebody
But
that's not involved and doesn't have an ulterior motive, doesn't
yeah,
have their own agenda for within the organisation or anything. Just
absolutely.
somebody you can open
Yeah.
up to.
You could listen to some of those things and then pick out, hang on a minute, Lynn, have you thought about X, Y, Z? And yeah, then help me just adjust some of the
Change
way
your
that
perspective a little bit, maybe.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
If you could go back and meet yourself at 18, what advice would you give that
Not
young
go
Lynn?
partying every Friday, and Saturday night. Oh, at 18, I think I could have done more if I'd taken those opportunities that were given to me. That thing with Ireland, I was probably only about 20 when that kind of came up. And I could go back and say, just take a chance. What's the worst that's going to happen? Just take that step, be a little bit uncomfortable and get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because that's always going to be, if you want to progress and you want to grow, that's always going to be there. It's going to be uncomfortable to begin with. You get used to it, you deal with it, and then you have to keep going.
I like that. I've written that one down. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's quite, I might write that one down too. I think I might put it on my wall.
That's when you grow your comfort zone, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
When you
Because
grow, when you're out of your comfort zone.
if you stay comfortable, you're never going to grow. You're just going to be comfortable with what you're doing. And you may be very good at what you're doing, but you're never going to grow and improve.
So, what's the next step out of the comfort zone for Lynn or for Motion?
So for me, I think it is, where do I go after my vision is is done in 2028. And I'm working on succession planning. So looking at within Motion, where can people grow? Where can they go? And then for me, it's, do I step up to my boss's job? So become a group leader, and the group leaders look after a portfolio of businesses. And my boss has 7 businesses, I think, at the moment, of which Motion's one of them. So is that the route that I want to take? Or actually, do I want to take more of a central role working across different sectors and different business? I've gone from leisure to compliance. We've got businesses all in all kinds of arenas. So is it into a different industry? Is that the next uncomfortable step for me? Or is it that step up? I don't know yet. I've got a job to do at Motion and kind of get that done and see it through. But really, come 2028, that's my vision of Motion in 2028. But whoever then comes in and takes over, I would say that's for them then to put their spin on what is the next 4 years for Motion, because I can come up with ideas and suggestions, but ultimately I think you have to, as a business leader, you've got to own that. And if it's not your vision, it's someone else's. It's like trying to deliver a PowerPoint presentation that someone else wrote, really hard if it's not your words and your feelings and your thoughts. Yeah. So we will see. Ask me again in 2028 where I'm
I
at.
will do.
We'll do another one of these.
I'm just thinking about it the other way. A lot of the people that I work with are business owners. So they've built something up because it's been their vision and they're building, it's theirs. They have that ownership and it's very difficult for them then to let go of that, to
Definitely.
retire or to pass it on or to sell it or whatever, because it's
And I think within the group, we have businesses with multiple businesses. Some are acquired, and the business leader or the business owner will sometimes they'll retire, sometimes move on and do something different. But quite often they will stay on and they will stay within the business. There's one I was talking to a couple of weeks ago, and he's got kind of things that he still wants. But I think and I can't speak as a business owner, but the impression I get is those that stay within is that they're looking for that bit of coaching, that little bit of what's next. They've done what they wanted to do, and then they're just a bit, okay, where do we go next? So by being acquired, the group can then put other thoughts into it. They could bring somebody like me across into that business. So have you thought about this? Have you tried that? And across the business, I mentioned that I was in Canada earlier this year. So much of it was a 2.5 full on flat out days, but it was all about sharing ideas and have you thought about this and have you thought about that? And there were hundreds of sessions that you could sign up to, and I was delivering one of them. And even though I was delivering that session, I still got as much as I gave because I was presenting on a particular topic. But there were others within that room that had different experiences, or some of them more experiences. So they could say, okay, I get that, but what about that? And it just became, and I think all of the sessions that I was in were very much conversations. It wasn't a stand-up presentation. We were facilitators for the room to open up conversations.
I love that. I think that it sounds like that's the real value that you've got from being part of that group. And
Yeah.
where, I'm just wondering, where can people, women that are starting and scaling their business that don't have such big support, where can they, that I think they should look around and see where they can get that. Support.
They can contact us and say, okay, we have a huge mergers and acquisition function within the group, and they're constantly looking and having conversations and things. But there are, as I say, there's some business owners that have stayed on, and people can talk with them about how did it work for you? How was it? Because there may be some concerns over losing that control if they want to still be with that business. But the model that we have is very decentralized, and we have a few central functions. HR is a central function, IT is a central function, and finance. But other than that, everything else is pretty much left to the business units. But then you've got those extra ears to listen and say, I was thinking about doing this. What are your thoughts? And there's always somebody, with such a big group, there's guaranteed there's somebody somewhere across the world that's been there, done it, and got the t-shirt and can give you those hints and tips and advice. Even things almost as simple as we just swapped out our CRM, but there's loads of others within the group that have gone with the CRM that we've gone with. So we can go and, what are the pitfalls? What do we need to look out for? Well, did you do wrong that you wish you'd done differently? So we can take that and make it better. And in time to come, there'll be other businesses that do the same thing that I would hope come to us, and we can give them our thoughts and tips.
Awesome. I'm just reflecting. I have the same within ActionCOACH. So it's global. We've got the same. Oh, there's a WhatsApp group. If I've got a challenge, I know who I'm going to ask.
Yeah. And we, even within our sort of small group of businesses, the 6, 7 of us, we have there's a Teams chat, and we are constantly, has anyone seen this? What does this mean? And it's just, rather than sitting there trying to work it out yourself, what does this spreadsheet mean? We just bounce it off each other and probably get 7 different views on what we're supposed to be filling in. But at least you've got that sort of group of people that you can lean on.
I guess then you can trust your gut when you get the other 6 perspectives and yours still feels right.
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes you just want a sounding board just to go, hang on a minute,
have I missed anything?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I think the message there then is don't be alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. And it does get lonely. The higher you climb the tree, the smaller the branches are. So it does start to get more lonely. But actually, if there's more trees in that forest, you've got umpteen of you sitting at the top of the tree to call across an answer.
Yeah, that's a brilliant message to end on. I've just realised we've been talking for ages. It's been great to have you on, Lynne. Is there anything that I should have asked you that I didn't ask?
Oh gosh, now you've got me.
Or anything that you would have wanted to say that I didn't get to asking for you?
No, I think we covered it with that whole believe in yourself type thing and take those opportunities. Because if I hadn't had this person saying, you can do it, Lynne, you can do it, don't be, and it wasn't always roses and hugs, sometimes there was the occasional kick in there. But if I hadn't had that, I probably wouldn't have, I'm going to sound really conceited, but been as successful as I've been able to be. By having that person believing in me, telling me I can do it, then me going, do you know what, maybe I can. So yeah, that's probably the main thing, is that you've got to believe that you can do it and fake it till you make it. That's the phrase, isn't it? And if you can't do it, just, keep pretending until you've got it.
I love it. Thank you, Lynne. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on Scale Her Up. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you very much.
And thank you to you for listening. Skill Her Up is the Female Entrepreneurs Show. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes, and join our Facebook community at Skill Her Up. Please connect with me, I'm Brenda Hector, on social media and drop me a message to let me know you're enjoying the podcast. Or even better, pop a review for us. I'll finish by reminding you that only 1 in 3 UK entrepreneurs are female, and men are 5 times more likely to scale their business to over £1 million in turnover than women are. And when, I used to say if, but when we start and scale our businesses to the same extent as men, it will add 250 billion to the UK economy and provide millions of jobs. So, ladies, you can do it and make a massive difference. There we go.